My name is Lloyd Chapman, and I'm president of the American Small Business League. I'd like to talk to you about President Obama's economic policies and how they relate to small businesses. And I'm going to try to stick to the facts here and avoid my opinions as much as I can. U.S. Census Bureau data tell us that about 98% of all U.S. firms have less than 100 employees, and that those firms are responsible for over 95% of all new jobs. And there are 28 million businesses fall in that category. They employ about 56% of the private sector workforce. They're responsible for over 90% of all U.S. exports, over 90% of all innovations, technological innovations, and over 90% of U.S. patents. So the term that I've heard a lot of politicians say is that small businesses are the heart and soul, are the backbone of our nation's economy, and they're right, that's true. So President Obama says he's going to create 4.1 million new jobs. I think he says he's going to create something like 600,000 jobs this summer. How can you even one job if you're given 99.8% of the money to large businesses that, again, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, have not created one net new job since 1977? You can't do it. It can't be done. So think of it this way. The small businesses that create 95% of the new jobs where most people work have gotten 0.2% of the stimulus money. Executives on Wall Street have gotten $18.4 billion in bonuses. Depending on who you talk to, I'll go ahead and say small business, if I believe the press releases of the Obama administration, if I just take them at their word, small businesses have gotten maybe $5 billion. Wall Street executives got 18.4 in bonuses. So 28 million small businesses have gotten, 2, 3, 4, 5 billion. Just Wall Street executives got 18.4 billion, more money than all 28 million small businesses in America combined. Does that sound right to you? Does that sound like the way to stimulate the economy and create jobs? Not to me. So let's look at what Barack Obama does and not just listen to what he says. Let's look what he does. So during the campaign in February of 2008, Barack Obama said, it's time to end the diversion of federal small business contracts to corporate giants. Anybody that knows me knows that for 7 years I've been fighting the government in court, in the media, everywhere, to try to simply stop the government from giving Fortune 500 corporations government small business contracts. That would seem like a no-brainer, right? By the way, I've never met someone that thought that Fortune 500 corporations should get small business contracts, but it's been 7 years and no one's written legislation to stop it but me. So in February, Barack Obama made that statement, it's time to end the diversion of federal small business contracts to corporate giants. He's done nothing. He's done nothing to address that. So today, large businesses will receive $400 million in government small business contracts. It works out to almost $1 million a minute. Our calculations and the conversations we have with people in government indicate that it's around $100 to $120 billion a year. To put that in perspective, President Obama's infrastructure spending this year is right around, I think, 97 to 100. One-time shot. While they're diverting $100 billion a year, every year, year after year, decade after decade, in small business contracts to large businesses. He's done nothing to stop that. During the campaign, he said he would restore the SBA administrator to the president's cabinet. He hasn't done that. He said he would restore the Small Business Administration budget. He didn't do that. The Small Business Administration budget that we have right now under President Obama was what it was, I think, 30 years ago. And the last thing he said he would do, which to me seems like a no-brainer, over 8 years ago, Bill Clinton signed into law a 5% set-aside contracting goal for women. It was signed into law. It's a federal law. And it was never implemented by the Bush administration. President Obama said he would do that. He has not done that. So as far as I know, he made 4 promises to small businesses. I'll restore the SBA administrator to the cabinet. I'll restore the SBA budget. I'll implement the 5% woman set-aside contracting goal. and it's time to end the diversion of federal small business contracts to corporate giants. He's broken all 4 of those promises, and he's given America's 28 million small businesses 0.2% of the $2.3 trillion bailout funds. Does that sound like a pro-business guy to you, a pro-small business guy to you? Not to me. By the way, 2 of his biggest contributors, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, guess how they're doing with the stimulus? Yeah, they're doing great. They've gotten billions. In fact, I don't remember the exact statistics, but I believe both JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs have gotten 10 times as much money as all 28 million small businesses in America combined. So those are the facts. That's who Barack Obama really is. What I say to people is Barack Obama is not who you think he is. And look at what he does. Look at what he does. The last thing I'll tell you about Barack Obama is he has been supported financially by venture capitalists since his days in the Chicago State Legislature. And that has not changed. Venture capitalists gave him millions and millions and millions of dollars, and he's paying them back in 2 ways. He's going to support legislation and policy that will change the federal definition of a small business, which right now is called independently owned, to include firms that are actually not independently owned but owned by venture capitalists. And the next thing he's going to do, he's going to exempt venture capitalists from capital gains tax on the money they make with these small business contracts they're going to get. And I read a press release the other day that says Barack Obama is selling the SBA to the venture capitalist. Karen Mills is a multimillionaire New York venture capitalist whose parents own Tootsie Roll. Tootsie Roll did, $500 million last year. Does that sound like a small business person to you? Karen Mills knows nothing about small business, has never started a small business or worked in a small business. And she's the head of the Small Business Administration. Then he picks another venture capitalist, is it Winslow Sargent? Yeah, Winslow Sargent, another venture capitalist from Wisconsin, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, Wisconsin.
And he's going to be head of the SBA Office of Advocacy. And guess what? Both Mr. Sargent and Karen Mills are outspoken advocates of federal changes in federal policy to allow some of the nation's wealthiest venture capitalists to get government small business contracts. Big shocker. So again, look at what Obama does. Forget, he's a wonderful talker. He's great. He's got some very charismatic speeches, but look at what he does. Look at what he does. 0.2% to small businesses, and now he's supporting legislation in Congress to divert more small business contracts to large business. I think it's H.R. 2767 that's been proposed in the House by Nidhi Velasquez and Sam Graves, will divert even more federal small business contracts to venture capitalists. So if Barack Obama is successful, he will virtually repeal the Small Business Act, and millions of small businesses will be damaged. Millions of hardworking Americans will lose their homes and their jobs. And I just hope that people out there will listen and again look at the facts and join me and try to stop him and people in Congress like Nidhi Velasquez and Sam Graves from adopting more anti-small business legislation and policy. I'm Lloyd Chapman. I'm president of the American Small Business League. Thank you so much.